Hi, and welcome to Nature Journaling. I'm Megan, and I'll be your facilitator today. We are going to learn how to assemble a nature journal. These are the items I used to assemble my nature journal. I also used a pencil and a glue stick, not pictured. And just remember that there are many different things you can use, including ribbon or some other type of string, and even a paper hole punch. So I used yarn for my nature journal, and like I said before, you can use some other type of string. You need some sort of writing utensils, markers, crayons. You're going to need any type of paper, and then something you want to use for your cover, and I chose a greeting card. You need something to cut with and something to measure with. So here I am deciding how big I want my pages, and I'm using this greeting card as my guide. I'm cutting it in half because I only, at this point in time, want the cover, the monarch to be the cover. Later on, I do add the back as well. So I could have technically just bound it with the card intact, but I didn't want to do that at this point in time. So right now I'm measuring it to make sure that the paper is lined up, and it is not. So I'm going to take my ruler and a pencil, and I'm going to mark it so I can cut it. You want the cover and the back cover of your journals to be larger than the paper inside, so I'm going to trim it down so that it's either exactly the same size or it's a little bit smaller than my cover. And I'm going to do that to several different pages here. And just keep in mind that the more pages you have, the harder it is to bind it, as well as the more string you will need to be able to bind the journal itself. And you can see here that I have all the pages aligned, and I'm going to put them in order so it opens like a book, and that is how we'll bind it together. Just lining it up, seeing my work, seeing how it'll look here, and then we're going to start binding the pages together. So you want to open up to the very middle, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure out the holes I want, where I want them. Some people like them spaced out evenly, some people don't. I'm choosing to create 3 holes in my journal. I would recommend creating at least 2, and if you're making a smaller one like I am, probably no more than 4, because then it will get complicated. So I marked them on my sheet with a pencil, as you can see, and I'm going to slowly cut little holes into it by bending it the opposite way. And you can do it like I did, and I'm trying to make little triangles but not go too far. However, there are other ways to do this. You can use a needle to actually sew the string through. You can also use a paper hole puncher, and later on you'll see that I can't quite get the string through, so I use my pencil, and that is totally fine. There are many different ways that you can try to string the pages together. So as you can see here, I'm taking a pencil and I'm digging it into the holes to make them a little bit bigger so that my string can get through. I didn't want to take my scissors because I didn't want to cut myself, and I didn't want to make them too big. So I'm just taking my eraser and I'm erasing the little marks that I made, just so that it doesn't show up when I am journaling. So now has come the time to actually thread this through. And like I said before, you could use a needle, you could use a safety pin, whatever you want. I am just tying it real quick. So I was having some difficulty getting the string through, so I used my pencil to help me out, and that actually worked a lot. So I would recommend that if you're having difficulty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread it through each hole, and you want to make sure that you leave enough string on either side in case you have to make adjustments as well. So I'm just going to pull that through. So as you can see, I'm getting a good line. The paper's held together pretty well, but I still have to keep going. You want to make sure it's bound pretty well so that it doesn't fall apart on you. As you can see here, I'm actually adjusting the string. So again, make sure that you leave enough room on both sides so you can adjust it. It's really easy to do so. So as you can see, I'm getting a straight line across my book, and I am almost finished binding it. So I'm just going to tie it. I did leave a little bit extra for a bookmark. So I'm finished trimming all of the strings that I want to trim. I have a nice long bookmark, and I have to figure out the cover now. So you can do anything you want to your own cover. I just chose to paste this pretty picture of a monarch butterfly onto mine, that you can draw, you can write, you can put stickers, whatever you want. So I'm going to use glue here to paste it on. After I pasted it, I wasn't exactly happy with how big it was, so I just trimmed the edges. I wrote a title page for mine. This is something you don't need to do. I just thought it would be nice, especially if I lost it. Somebody knows where it belongs. And that is my nature journal. I wasn't exactly happy with the back, so I did decide to glue the end part of the card onto it so that it seemed thicker and more sturdy. And that is my nature journal. So remember that there are many different ways that you can create a nature journal. There's no right way or wrong way. You can customize it to however you want, whatever you're interested in. As you can see in this picture, somebody actually collected parts of the plant and taped them right into the journal and then wrote about the plants. That is one way of doing a nature journal. This is another way somebody collected the plants, and instead of staying out in nature to draw them, they drew them on a piece of paper by looking at them. They did not tape or glue down the plant, so they'll probably be removing it. This was just for reference. If you don't like drawing as much or you only like to kind of sketch, you can instead just write about what you see in your journal. You can describe the plants or animals or scenery, and you can sketch something if you want to, but you don't have to. So this person looks like they've tried to find yellow things and then they drew them in the journal, and then on the other side it looks like brown things that they saw. So that's one way you can do some journaling or nature scavenger hunt, is you can go out and look for specific colors or specific textures, and or maybe you just want to look at plants or just want to look at scenery, or maybe you just want to look at for animals. Whatever you want to do is totally up to you and whatever you're interested in. So this person, it looks like they wrote down their observations and they also drew, and they must have had some crayons and colored pencils with them and they colored it in. This is an option you can do. This person, they used paint, watercolor paint to be more specific, to paint their scenery after they got home. This is another option. But maybe you are somebody who loves to take pictures and you don't like to draw very much, and that is totally fine. If you want to take pictures on a cell phone or in a camera and then upload them to a computer and print them off and tape them into your nature journal, you can. You can write about what you saw, your observations, what you loved, what you felt. You can also write about maybe the colors and smells that you experienced while out in nature. A lot of people like to write poems about nature, and that is a possibility, or even a story. Now, I showed you one way to make a nature journal. There is no wrong way. Basically, you just need paper and you need to bind it in some way. You can use staples, you can use string like I did, you can use tape, you can use glue. The possibilities are endless, and you can do a simple Google search and there's a bunch of different ways to do it. As you can see in this photo, there are many different ways. So you got people binding with string like I did, tape. It looks like somebody used a stick in one picture and they also pressed a leaf down and they probably glued it on the front, and that was how they decorated their nature journal. It also looks like they upcycled some items. So they took a Starbucks bag and instead of throwing that in the recycle bin, they upcycled it into a new object, and that was the cover of their journal, which is really neat. That is a possibility. Basically, do whatever you want to these journals and make them unique in whatever you like. And in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see a little envelope somebody pasted onto a page. This is something a lot of people like to do if they collect things that are flat. And if you do collect anything in nature, you can press it like that leaf is in that photo in a book and wait for it to dry out, and then you can paste it on the page, and that's much easier. Thank you for watching.